This week I want to talk about an issue which is really hot for a lot of business owners right now. We're all experiencing that business as usual is shutting down. And one of the things I'm hearing a lot is the advice that we should pivot to an online business model. Well, that's fine if you have some familiarity with digital marketing, the digital world, and what an online business model means. So in this episode, I want to offer a little orientation for those who might be struggling to get their heads around what an online business model actually looks like. A lot of businesses are in a bit of a tailspin right now. What they've always done isn't working. And if you're a business owner, you don't need me to tell you about this new reality. What we have in simple terms is an obstacle. There's an obstacle between us and our customers, between the value we have and the people that need it. These obstacles aren't absolute. All they've done is block the path of least resistance or the normal route to market. Now, I know there's less money in the economy, but what I'd like you to remember is that the current situation affects every business owner equally. Your business hasn't been singled out for special treatment. And what this means is that if you can find a way around the obstacle and reconnect with customers, you have a business again. We see this with restaurants starting to sell takeaway food, but what if your business doesn't have such an obvious alternative route to market? That's what I want to explore here. Something I'm hearing a lot online at the moment is that business owners should pivot to an online business model. And for some businesses, the ways to do this are really obvious. But for others, possibly you, this route to pivoting to an online business model might not be so obvious. And that's what I want to explore here. Online business models are not all about selling online through online shops. If you have a shop, then by all means open an online shop. But if you don't sell physical products, what are your options? The first thing to remember with an online business model is that while at the moment you may not have ready access to your local customers, online you do have access to the whole world. So don't think in the traditional limitations of geography. If you're going to reimagine your business, do it from the ground up. There are a lot of frameworks people use when they're trying to understand how to optimize a business. There are things like the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, but for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to fall back to the classic 7 P's of marketing, which you maybe heard many times. Now, I also want to offer a bit of a disclaimer. If you're a marketing academic or an argumentative competitor, the door is over there. I'm trying to be helpful. This is just my interpretation of the 7 P's of marketing for this specific purpose in this specific time. So the first P of the 7 P's of marketing is understandably product. Your product represents value, and when you sell, it's a value exchange. What your customers value might have changed. How you package your product might need to change in order to stay aligned with these changed needs. A big issue for some businesses is that the product they have doesn't really align with the current climate. This doesn't mean they don't have value that they can exchange, but it does mean they maybe need to think about innovating their product in order to be more closely aligned with the current needs. The second P is for price. You might need to look at your pricing. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean cutting your prices. What I mean is that you might need to look at leading with different products. And another perspective is that when you start reaching out online, you don't have the same geographic constraints. So you may find that you can actually sell much more, but of a much lower priced product, but actually keep your revenues and your profits the same, or even increase them. Now, the next P is physical evidence. When people come into our store or our office, they take an impression of who we are, how serious or how competent we are. Our environment is part of our brand, and it affects trust. So online, you don't have these same assets. You need to find other ways to have the same effect. So you're going to need to do things like share pictures of your premises, your people. You're going to have to build intimacy and trust in other ways. So these are things that you're going to have to think about, and they may ask you to do things that you haven't done before or may find quite uncomfortable. The next P is for place. Now, you might have traded locally before, but you can't right now. So that gives you permission to completely reimagine the constraint of place. If you're going to be trading online, why limit yourself geographically the way that you've done before? And additionally, because you can't work with people directly the way you used to, you'll have to completely rethink the value exchange, which is your product. Now, the next P is the much more predictable promotion. And to a large extent, promotion is the easy part. Once you innovate the product and you overcome the physical constraints of social distancing, you just need to connect to your audience. This, for most people, is what they understand as marketing. But marketing is much more. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're talking social media, search marketing, online advertising, joint ventures, and getting your brand and product in front of as many people as possible. The next P is processes. And most businesses are literally defined by their processes. And while many processes can continue as normal, one process more than any other has been disrupted. It has that constraint that wasn't there before, and that's delivery. So as we explore ways to innovate our product, innovate our value exchange, we're going to have to innovate in such a way that allows us to mitigate the issues around delivery. And this is where a lot of the time people are really looking at the online business model, especially people in the service businesses or in the knowledge business. The last P is people. This is all about community. It's about our staff, our partners, our customers, and most importantly, our audience. Those businesses who have taken their customers or their people for granted are going to have to rethink things. Online is often thought to be about big numbers, spreadsheets, ones and zeros, and nameless, faceless people far away. But that just isn't the case. It's about people. And your ability to connect with people and galvanize them as activists for your business is really what's going to set you up with a strong competitive advantage. But you also need to think about leveraging your resources properly. And when I say resources, I mean your people. So you're going to need to think incentives, recognition. You're going to need to think about shout-outs, generosity, but also CRM systems and communicating more and not less. Think person to person, not business to business or business to consumer. It's all about connection. The 7 Ps are really just one lens at which we can look through optimizing for an online business model. But it can take a little bit of imagination to understand how they might be applied to traditional businesses. So I'm going to give you a few examples. So the first example is a garden centre. Now this is the best garden centre in town, and though they've never had to sell online because they had a loyal customer base and they were a destination store, and they liked that intimate personal connection with their customers that they just couldn't get, they felt online. So I guess those who knew, and they were always busy, but that's not working now. So they've done a few simple things. They've created a PDF price list so their regular customers can still order, they can have things delivered. But they've also had to review their products in order to make them a little bit easier to buy. So what they've done is look at the current needs because the value that people have has changed. And one thing that they've done is develop a product where people who want to grow vegetables at home can very quickly buy a kit that includes containers, compost, watering can, and everything that you'd need to grow vegetables at home. It's a very simple thing. But through actively participating in local buy and sell groups on Facebook, there are a lot of people out there that are very actively helping them promote their products because their products are actively needed right now. There's a strong demand for this value exchange. So my second example is again a very non-online business. And this particular chap is a massage therapist. Now, it's all well and good for Joe Wicks to jump around on TV. He doesn't need to actually generate an income right now. Joe Wicks, if he chose to, could go and buy an island. But that's not the case for my massage therapist. He needs to make money and he needs to continue earning a living because he still has a mortgage to pay. So what this therapist did was he created a Facebook group, and he created this Facebook group for people who are at home suffering with the current economy. Then they're exploring job changes. And there is a very narrow slice of a very large population that's thinking about a career change into the massage therapy space. So what this chap has done is he's created a very simple online course for how to get your massage business started, how to find customers, how to sell, and some templates for all the basic documents you need. So within the space of a couple of months, he has 150 people around the world, each paying him £35 a month to subscribe to this kind of coaching business. What that means is he's actually making more money with an online business model than he ever did as an independent practicing massage therapist. Plus, he has the potential to scale his business 4, 5, 10 times bigger than any other massage therapist could. So my final example is a telecoms company. And telecoms is something that's always been sold person to person. And that's just not working right now. And while most telecoms companies are busy making people redundant, this one is retraining staff to operate online. People still need telecoms now more than ever, but the ways this has been done just aren't going to work now. This particular telecoms company has invested in virtual training for social selling. They've done this helping staff find new ways to connect in this new environment. Some simple changes have led to increased sales and new customers, while competitors just haven't risen to the challenge. Each of these businesses had the same constraints. They had to find new ways to connect their value to the people who needed it. First, they had to reassess what their value was, and then how they got that value into the hands of the people that need it. The more imagination you bring to this process, the more successful you can be. And when you go online, it's important to remember you don't need to be mainstream. You can be as niche as you like. Your market is no longer bound by the geographical constraints, but by the 7 billion people on this planet. The pivot to an online business model is something which normally might be done over years. Right now, you might need to address it very quickly. The online business model isn't a license to print money or a ticket to a private island. It's just as much work as a traditional business. You will need to work like crazy, especially just now. You will need to live on social media. You'll need to create content all the time. You need to be very high profile and get used to being visible in ways that you might find very uncomfortable. That's what it takes. Remember that a business is just a value exchange. If you can find ways to create value and get it into the hands of people who need it, you have a business. If you have a business and it's struggling right now, it's worth spending some time with these 7 Ps and really going through each one step by step and finding where can you innovate on there. And hopefully through that, you'll find a route to take your business online. If you're looking for some inspiration on that, it's probably well worth spending a little bit of time on my podcast, where I've interviewed dozens of online business owners of every kind. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll probably enjoy the other videos I do. So it's well worth subscribing. If you did enjoy it, please do hit the like button. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to click the bell. That way you'll get notifications every time I publish a new video. If you have questions and you want to discuss them with me, feel free to pile them into the comments underneath this video. I'd love to continue the conversation with you there. And thank you for watching.